The shadow war between Israel and Iran over the Iranian nuclear program started in the mid-2000s. There was a series of assassinations in which Iranian nuclear scientists were shot dead by gunmen on motorbikes, reportedly paid by Israel.
Tous ceux qui contribuent au programme nucléaire iranien savent les risques qu'ils prennent. Les Israéliens les ont prévenus.
Mais c'est signé du Mossad. Le Mossad, de toute façon, n'avoue jamais. Donc il y a une sorte de peur qui s'instille, se dire voilà, qui va être le prochain.
Israel has a long history of thinking about getting rid of leading figures among its enemies.
There are clearly two sides to this story, polar opposites, and we'll hear first-hand accounts from those directly involved.
I know everybody is very curious about secret operation, etc., but I'm not talking about things that I don't know, and I'm not talking about things I know.
هر اتفاقی میفته تو کشورمون، حتی یه آتش سوزی، من میگم کار سنگ نیست. خب وقتی یه تهدیدی علیه ما وجود داره، باش مخالفت کنیم و مبارزه کنیم و این به عنوان یک اصل برای ما مطرح هستش.
Under the leadership of former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran developed long-range missiles. It also supported armed groups opposed to Israel in the region, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. On the 13th of June 2025, in the middle of nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran in Geneva, the Israeli Air Force launched a surprise attack on Iran. The secret war became all-out war.
Everything started at 3 a.m. in the morning. The Mossad agents were in place, launching missiles against their air defenses, sending drones from Iran.
At the same time, Israel targeted 9 scientists involved in Iran's nuclear program, attacking some in their own homes.
Even if there is a few minutes difference, some of those people would escape, and the effect of this on Iran's nuclear program would have been significantly diminished. The 12-day war is based on intelligence that has been collected and analyzed for 20 years.
It was an unprecedented attack which killed over 30 Iranian scientists and soldiers. The Israeli military celebrated on social media. The war lasted 12 days and ended when the President of the United States, Israel's staunchest ally, intervened. But the peace only lasted 8 months. On the 28th of February 2026, the US and Israel attacked Iran again, even while negotiations continued in Geneva. The supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed in the attacks, along with some of his family members. Iran retaliated by firing missiles at Israel. It also attacked its Gulf neighbors in what it described as targeting US military assets. But this conflict did not start in 2025. To fully understand it, you have to go back several decades. This series tells the story of almost half a century of confrontation in the Middle East. shadow war over nuclear weapons in the Middle East goes back to the years following the founding of Israel in 1948. In the heart of the Negev desert, Israel began to develop a secret military program at the Dimona nuclear power plant. Some Western sources believe that Israel has been capable of producing atomic weapons since the late 1960s. But the Israeli government has never officially acknowledged this. At that time, Ehud Barak was still a young officer in the Israeli army. He later became Chief of Staff as well as Minister of Defense and Prime Minister.
You know, Israel is perceived, according to foreign sources, Israel is nuclear. When you look at the asymmetries between Israel and the neighbors, you can understand why Israel might think that it's worse to have this capacity as a kind of safety net for against existential threats.
Israel sees many surrounding countries as hostile and aims to preserve a nuclear monopoly in the region. It's worried about a domino effect involving Iran, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey. Israel argues that if one of its near neighbors were to develop the atomic bomb, others would want it too. Along with its closest ally, the United States, Israel tries to prevent nuclear proliferation in the Middle East at all costs. John Bolton began his career in various US Republican administrations in the early 1980s. At the time, Iran was not the focus of international concern. That was Iraq.
In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Israel was very concerned about Iraq developing nuclear weapons, and they concluded through their intelligence that Iraq was building a nuclear reactor at a place called Osirak.
Iraqi President Saddam Hussein said that the Osirak reactor being built with the help of France was for research purposes. But Israel believed that Iraq would use it to generate plutonium for a nuclear weapon. Diplomacy failed, so the Israeli government decided to attack the reactor. Ehud Barak was an army brigadier general at the time.
Luckily enough, about a year before the operation, we got the first F-16s. The best pilots were taken, and we executed it brilliantly.
On the 7th of June 1981, an Israeli Air Force squadron took off from a base in the south of the country and flew over Saudi Arabia towards central Iraq. The mission was to drop 16 tons of bombs on the Osirak nuclear plant. This attack put a large dent in Iraq's nuclear program.
In retrospect, I thought it was the right thing to do. Interestingly, at that time, the Reagan administration voted to condemn Israel in the Security Council. I think in 2020 hindsight, we should have applauded them. If we're not resolute in trying to deny them nuclear weapons, other countries will draw the conclusion that if you're only determined enough, then you too can get nuclear weapons. And at that point, proliferation would be rampant.
It became a doctrine after this success. And it repeated itself more than about a generation later with Assad Jr. The Syrians, confidentially, far from our eyes, for all our screening of their activities, they are extremely advanced in building a nuclear program in a remote place along the Euphrates, some curve in the desert.
The Israeli attack on the Al-Kibar facility in Syria in 2007 is one of the less-known episodes in the development of nuclear capability in the Middle East. The intelligence agency Mossad believed that behind a smokescreen of scientific research, Syria under President Bashar al-Assad also had military nuclear ambitions. Yossi Melman has been writing about Mossad's clandestine operations for over 40 years. He has credible sources within the Israeli intelligence services.
Once Israel realized that Syria is heading to have a nuclear reactor which would produce plutonium and would build nuclear weapons, they started looking who is in charge of that operation. And they found out that the head of the Syrian Atomic Energy Commission was Ibrahim Othman. Once they target him, they try to shadow him, to follow him in Syria and outside Syria. Now, he was frequently traveling to Vienna.
Vienna is the headquarters of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, which it says promotes the safe use of nuclear technologies. It's also where the world's intelligence agencies, including the CIA, Russia's FSB, and Mossad, vie to uncover each other's secrets. We've recreated a Mossad operation through graphics. Iranian, Israeli, and other actors are represented by circles colored to match their national flags. This is the floor plan of a luxury hotel in Vienna, the scene of a Mossad operation in March 2007. In a hotel room, a team of Israeli agents were preparing to entrap the head of the Syrian Atomic Energy Commission, Ibrahim Othman.
Othman. He was in Vienna, he was in a hotel room. Mossad agent managed to detract him, to make him leave the room, that is wanted to reception.
Israeli intelligence suspected that Syria had plans to develop nuclear technology, but hadn't yet found any hard evidence. So they drew in Ibrahim Othman, using the oldest trick in the book.
They sent there some pretty women. So he was engaged in conversation with the girl at the bar.
The female spy engaged her target in small talk. They seemed to have common interests.
And the agents broke into his room. And luckily, he left his telephone there on the room. They sucked everything that was in the telephone.
A team of lookouts stood guard. They noticed that Othman was starting to look tired, and that the spy might not be able to keep him talking for much longer. So the Israeli agents in the room worked as fast as they could.
The girl said goodbye to Othman. And the material was sent to Mossad headquarters.
And to their surprise, when they opened this material, deciphered it, they saw pictures.
They saw Othman photographed together with some North Korean scientists. And they saw photos of the nuclear reactor, inside the reactor, the pool of the reactor.
We were able to confirm later it was basically a clone of the North Korean reactor at Yangbian and was being built with the assistance of North Korean scientists and technicians.
I was updated because I'm former chief of staff, former head of intelligence, former commander of the armed forces. And they asked what I think. I think it's we have to destroy it.
Israel was boosted by the success of the strike on Al-Kibar in Syria. Ehud Barak was defense minister and turned his attention to a new threat that was much more difficult to combat. Iran and Israel. It's easy to forget that today's bitter enemies were once the Middle East's closest allies. During the reign of the pro-Western Shah of Iran in the 1960s, the two nations worked together, even on nuclear technology. France was again involved. But the Islamic Revolution of 1979 brought an abrupt end to the Iran-Israel relationship. The new government was headed by a Shia Muslim cleric, Ruhollah Khomeini, as supreme leader. Iran referred to the US and Israel as the Great Satan and the Little Satan. Iran also resumed its nuclear research in secret into the early 2000s. Much of the West and some Middle Eastern countries, including Israel, began to view Iran as the major threat to regional stability. Mariam Pizzere is Franco-Iranian and is one of the few journalists to have worked in Tehran for European media.
Quand tous les Iraniens voient Saddam Hussein en 2003 qui est facilement éliminé, terré comme ça dans une cave, c'est une image qui traumatise les dirigeants de la République islamique. Et pour le régime iranien, il y a une raison à cela, c'est que Saddam Hussein et l'Irak n'avaient pas la bombe nucléaire. Donc assez rapidement, au sein de ce système de la République islamique, l'arme nucléaire est vue donc comme une arme de dissuasion et comme une assurance vie pour le régime.
In Tehran, Hossein Kanani Moghadam is a former commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, and is now a political commentator. He spoke on behalf of the Iranian government and was authorized to talk about the nuclear program. The Iranian authorities don't recognize the state of Israel, so he uses the term Zionist regime.
امریکا و صهیونیسم مثلا برای خودشون بمب هسته‌ای رو جایز میدونن، داشتن سلاح‌های بیولوژیک، سلاح‌های شیمیایی، بمب‌های اتمی رو جایز میدونن، ولی برای دیگر کشورها این رو جایز نمیدونن چون ممکنه برای اونها خطر ایجاد کنه. سال‌هاست یه استاندارد دوگانه‌ای در جهان وجود داره.
Iran has always maintained that its nuclear program is to be used purely for peaceful and civilian purposes.
آیا تا حالا برنامه هسته‌ای ایران اهداف نظامی دنبال کرده؟
ببینید ما اصلا دنبال ساخت سلاح هسته‌ای نبودیم. ولی چون رهبری این رو منع کردن از نظر اینکه ما سلاح هسته‌ای داشته باشیم، نگفتن دانش هسته‌ای نداشته باشیم. این حق یک کشوری است که وقتی به سمت سلاح هسته‌ای نمیره از مزایای فناوری هسته‌ای صلح‌آمیز استفاده کنه.
Iran has always walked a fine line between civilian and military use. This Iranian TV documentary suggests that when Iran built this power station, it made the strategic choice to control the whole production cycle. Iran has reserves of uranium, which can be used in power stations or to make nuclear weapons. This ore has to be concentrated or enriched to produce uranium, using thousands of centrifuges like these. These machines work on the same principle as a salad spinner. As they spin, they separate the heavier uranium-238 from the lighter uranium-235, which is used to trigger nuclear fission. Since it has a natural concentration of 0.7%, it needs to be enriched by repeating the operation from one centrifuge to the next. At each stage, the uranium-235 becomes more concentrated.
There is no limit in enriching uranium up to 3.67% of U-235 for medical use, for commercial use, for producing power, whatever.
یعنی الان ما دیگه کشتیامون رو داریم با موتورهای هسته‌ای تجهیز می‌کنیم. زیردریاییامون رو با موتورهای هسته‌ای داریم تجهیز می‌کنیم. ما تو پزشکیمون، تو کشاورزیمون، بالاخره از این فناوری‌ها عمومی هم هست، دارن همه جای دنیا هم استفاده می‌کنن.
The same machines, however, can concentrate uranium up to 90%, which can be used to make a bomb. The Israeli government and the United States accuse Iran of hiding a military program behind its enrichment operation. And because this process can be completely decentralized and take place simultaneously across different sites, the Iranian program is much more difficult to attack than, say, the Iraqi or Syrian facilities.
Because it goes through centrifuges, it can be spread over the whole country in a dozen of different installations, some of them protected by concrete or by rock, some other protected by the very being deployed within civilian population, and you probably don't even know about.
L'Iran, c'est un pays qui est très montagneux. C'est un pays très vaste déjà, où il y a des zones qui sont difficiles d'accès. Et donc, cette particularité géographique est utilisée aussi par le régime pour pouvoir cacher une partie du programme, en tout cas les avancées qu'ils ont faites.
The best-known Iranian enrichment site is near the city of Natanz, in a popular tourist area.
Natanz, c'est la vitrine du programme nucléaire iranien. Moi, je suis passée à plusieurs reprises devant. C'est sur la route qui mène de Téhéran à Ispahan. Ispahan, c'est une des villes les plus touristiques d'Iran. Donc vous avez la partie convoi, un bâtiment un peu lambda. Interdiction évidemment de filmer ce site. Et vous avez des canons qui sont une sorte d'avertissement à toute armée qui voudrait bombarder Natanz.
They assume that we are after them. They knew that we are trying to intervene from every corner we can. You don't let us through the door, we come through the window, not from the window, we come through the chimney, or not through the chimney, through the sewage, not through the air condition. Not to that, we use someone who doesn't even know that he's being used by us, and he's frequent visitor to the place.
And that's what happened at Natanz. At the end of the 2000s, the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad already knew about Iran's major nuclear facility near the city of Natanz and its underground passageways, shown here in 3D. Israel's missiles couldn't penetrate the armor plating, so Mossad worked with the Americans to develop a computer virus. They spread it by tricking one of the few European engineers authorized to enter the compound. This was the first known cyber weapon, Stuxnet. We'll describe how the hack happened, with graphics using red and green for the Iranians and blue for the Mossad mole.
C'est une histoire incroyable. C'est un espion, enfin c'est un ingénieur néerlandais qui marie avec une Iranienne. Il travaille pour les renseignements néerlandais, mais il n'a pas l'air de savoir qu'il va travailler aussi pour le Mossad. Au moment de réparer une machine sur une centrifugeuse à Natanz, va en fait diffuser un virus qui va mettre à sac le programme nucléaire iranien.
There are some dates that I still remember.
Israeli Brigadier General Oren Setter can't reveal his precise role, but he was head of the Iran division of Israeli intelligence for several years.
July 10th, 2009, was the first time that Stuxnet has hit centrifuges in Iran.
The virus was undetectable, designed to activate when it located 984 networked centrifuges, a setup unique to Iran. The virus then caused them to speed up, then slow down, and speed up again, until they broke down.
What Stuxnet did, on one hand, it had the effect of crashing centrifuges through the control system, but it made the operator look at the screens and see that everything is normal, because it also took control over what they see. So you understand that you have a deep problem, but you don't know what to do with it. After 2 of these crashes, they fired the manager of the Natanz site and replaced him with another guy. And the new manager was afraid to tell the operators to push the button and restart, because he didn't know what caused it to begin with, and he was afraid it will happen again and he will be fired.
It took time to identify the virus and replace the damaged centrifuges. Stuxnet delayed Iran's nuclear program by a year and a half.
Covert operations buy time. I don't think it causes them despair and to give up, but it slows them down.
Israel wanted to put pressure on Iran that they would reach the conclusion that it's counterproductive for them to have nuclear weapons.
Despite these setbacks, the nuclear program was a source of national pride in Iran. Under Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the president of Iran in 2009 was a hardline conservative called Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
کمونیست‌ها مطلقاً فاقد دین و دینداری هستند. اونها از اساس ضد دین، ضد پیامبران الهی و ضد تعلیمات الهی هستند.
Farid Vahid is originally from Iran, but is now a French citizen and has been living in Paris since 2017.
Lui, il joue complètement à la surenchère sur le dossier nucléaire. C'est d'ailleurs à cette époque où les sanctions les plus sévères des Nations Unies ont été imposées. L'Iran ne coopérait pas du tout. Ils enrichissaient très dangereusement. Le programme nucléaire iranien sous Ahmadinejad allait dans des directions très dangereuses.
Despite economic sanctions and an arms embargo, the Iranian leadership was preparing for a possible large-scale confrontation with the West. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, made videos showing off their arsenal of ballistic missiles. The IRGC is loyal to the government and is the main wing of the Iranian armed forces. As a mark of disrespect, its officers often walk over the flags of the US and Israel, which they refer to as the Zionist regime.
این بحث نابودی رژیم صهیونیستی نه به عنوان قتل عام مردم یهودی در سرزمین‌های فلسطینی، نه، بحث نابودی رژیم صهیونیستی است. شما این رژیم آپارتاید، کودک کش، جنایتکار جنگی و نسل کش و اشغالگر میدونی.
There are many countries that have rivalries in the world, starting from economic, geopolitical rivalries. And this is maybe the most extreme type of enemy, one that does not recognize your existence and your right to exist.
For more than 2 decades, Israeli intelligence agencies have closely studied Iran's strategy and its regional alliances in research centers like this. Seema Shine is a former Mossad officer who's carefully studied what she believes are serious threats to Israel.
The threat that Iran posed vis-à-vis Israel started many years ago. It is a full strategy to put a major threat on the borders of Israel. If it's Hamas in Gaza, if it's Hezbollah in Lebanon.
از منظر دفاعی به هر حال ما معتقدیم که دشمن رو باید خارج از مرزهامون درگیر کنیم و نگذاریم دشمن به مرزهای ما نزدیک بشه و اقدامات خودش رو انجام بده.
First and foremost, and the most important proxy was Hezbollah. It was equipped like no army in the region.
The investment in Hezbollah was meant to protect the nuclear program in a way to deter Israel from striking Iran, because it was saying if you will strike Iran, Hezbollah will hit you with tens of thousands of rockets that Iran provided them just for that case.
Let's say at the 2010, 11, we know there were a lot of talking about Israel attacking the nuclear program.
Ehud Barak and Benjamin Netanyahu are political rivals. But Barak nevertheless served as defense minister in Netanyahu's second government from 2007 to 2013. Both wanted Israeli military intervention against Iran. But the army and Mossad said there was no guarantee that any attacks would slow the Iranian nuclear program, and that hundreds, if not thousands, of Israelis might be killed in retaliation.
Every year we improve our capabilities, make it more focused, more well packed, or more trained or prepared. But they also move forward. They spread it, deeper side. It becomes a question, are you going to risk a full-scale war, open a new account with the Iranians based on the idea that you will delay their military nuclear program by 9 months? Does it worth it?
Furthermore, Israel's closest Western allies, the United States and France, refused to get caught up in an escalation that could lead to all-out war.
À partir de 2012, lorsque je suis arrivé en responsabilité, la menace était telle qu'Israël envisageait de frapper l'Iran s'il n'y avait pas une issue par la négociation de cette question lancinante du nucléaire iranien.
Moi, je connais Barack Obama un peu parce qu'on a fait l'école de droit ensemble, donc je le connaissais un peu. Lorsqu'il a été réélu, il m'a demandé de rejoindre l'équipe Moyen-Orient et de me concentrer sur le Golfe et sur le dossier iranien. Je pense qu'il l'avait dit clairement pendant la campagne. Il avait dit on doit négocier avec les adversaires des États-Unis, y compris au Moyen-Orient, pour essayer de privilégier la voie diplomatique plutôt que la voie militaire. Et c'était vraiment le mandat que le président Obama a confié à son équipe, dont je faisais partie. Il voulait que l'Iran soit au moins à 1 an de pouvoir obtenir une bombe atomique s'il le faisait à toute vitesse, pendant au moins 10 ans.
Donc il fallait qu'il y ait des systèmes de vérification, qu'il y ait des inspections et surtout qu'il y ait une transparence sur notamment la question des centrifuges. La position de la France a été donc extrêmement dure dans la négociation.
Late in the negotiations, French President François Hollande blocked the signature of a nuclear agreement. France wanted Iran to guarantee that it would reduce its number of centrifuges from 19,000 to 5,000 and give IAEA inspectors access to potential nuclear sites. The Iranian leadership wanted an end to economic sanctions and to be able to trade freely with the rest of the world.
L'accord dit clairement que l'Iran s'engage à ne jamais obtenir de bombe atomique. Et en échange, évidemment, les États-Unis seraient prêts à soulever non pas toutes les sanctions, mais les sanctions qui avaient été imposées en réponse au programme nucléaire iranien.
Et puis finalement, 14 juillet, il y a eu l'accord à Vienne.
I have just signed the roadmap between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the IAEA for the clarification of past and present outstanding issues regarding Iran's nuclear program.
Il y a eu un très grand espoir, au moment où l'accord a été signé, d'une ouverture internationale qui aurait abouti à une ouverture économique, qui aurait changé, on va dire, économiquement la vie des gens.
Moi, j'étais dans la rue à ce moment-là, il y avait des explosions de joie.
Ordinary Iranians hoped that the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, would herald the lifting of sanctions and give them access to Western products.
احساس می‌کنم که به پیروزی بزرگی دست پیدا کردیم که میتونه در زندگی مردم نقش مهمی داشته باشه.
والا همه ماشینامو می‌بینن فکر می‌کنم باید ماشینمو عوض کنم.
چه ماشینت آقا؟ ماشین به این قشنگی.
Que ce soit des jeunes, des personnes âgées, des personnes de la classe populaire, la classe ouvrière, la classe aisée du nord de Téhéran, tout le monde était dans la rue. Ils avaient tous $1 dans la main en se disant « ça y est, on revient dans le concert des nations, on n'est plus du tout des parias ».
But the celebrations in Tehran were short-lived. Even as the agreement was being signed in Vienna, two men were already plotting how to sabotage it. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who thought he could count on his old friend, Donald Trump, who was campaigning hard to become the Republican candidate in the November presidential election.
Trump himself was talking about leaving the agreement before he was elected. He said it's the worst agreement in the world, and as you know, everything that Obama did is terrible, so he will do the opposite. And of course, Netanyahu encouraged him.
Netanyahu était opposé à l'accord parce qu'il pensait que ce ne serait pas une protection suffisante pour garantir à Israël que l'Iran n'aurait jamais accès à l'arme.
Netanyahu called me. I was already kind of a rival in the political, but he asked that emergency, please come. I told him, look, Netanyahu, look, Bibi, I call him. The agreement was not short of perfect, probably even a bad one, but once it was signed, it became a fact. And you cannot change facts just by your wishes and wishful thinking or self-delusion.
But Netanyahu ignored Barak's advice. On every visit to the United States, he criticized what he saw as the West's naivety towards Iran. In his view, by focusing solely on nuclear issues, the Vienna JCPOA agreement left Iran free to develop nuclear missiles and finance armed groups in the Middle East.
In the wake of the nuclear deal, Iran is spending billions of dollars on weapons and satellites. You think Iran is doing that to advance peace? You think hundreds of billions of dollars in sanctions relief and fat contracts will turn this rapacious tiger into a kitten?
En 2016, donc un an après la signature de l'accord, l'Iran a 12 ou 14% de croissance de son PIB. Donc il y a quand même il y a de l'argent qui arrive, une croissance économique. N'ayant pas régulé les activités balistiques ou régionales de l'Iran, ça donnait beaucoup de marge de manœuvre aux Iraniens. Et ça restait inacceptable pour les Israéliens.
Well, of one thing I can assure you, Israel will be watching closely.
After the JCPOA agreement, in 2016, Israel began working on a special operation, which was 2 years in the planning. The aim was to provide Donald Trump with proof that the Iranians had not abided by the JCPOA, and that they did in fact have a secret military nuclear program. Mossad planned to steal what it said were Iran's bomb-making plans. Benjamin Netanyahu was delighted to unveil the spoils of the Mossad commando operation to the world's media.
Good evening. Tonight we're going to show you something that the world has never seen before. We're going to show you Iran's secret nuclear files. In 2017, Iran moved its nuclear weapons files to a highly secret location in Tehran. Few Iranians knew where it was, very few, and also a few Israelis.
It all starts with the Iranian concept of hiding this archive, not in the middle of a military base, in a protected area, but they thought that they have a brilliant idea of hiding it in plain sight.
This is the Shorabad district in southern Tehran. This is where they kept the atomic archives, right here.
At the end of January 2018, Mossad discovered that the Iranians were preparing to move the archived documents. So they decided to go ahead with the operation 2 months earlier than planned. On the 31st of January 2018, at 10:30 at night, a commando unit of around 20 men deactivated the warehouse alarm system and went in. They had until 5 a.m. to seize what they saw as evidence of Iran's nuclear program.
Inside, there were locked containers. They broke into the containers. In the containers, there were safes.
There were 16 safes inside each container. The Mossad agents cut their way in with blowtorches burning at 2,500 degrees Celsius.
They were able to break into some of those safes that contained the documents and CDs and other things from the archive.
And they loaded in on 2 trucks and had to drive back to safety. And at a certain stage, the Iranians realized that thieves broke in and there was a chase.
At dawn, the 2 trucks merged with the Tehran traffic. Mossad copied all the files and then organized the exfiltration of almost half a ton of documents. They split up and traveled by different routes, and it took them a month to assemble everything back in Tel Aviv.
And here's what we got. 55,000 pages. Another 55,000 files on 183 CDs.
What is important about the archive at that time was not the intelligence, because most of the intelligence we knew. It was the fact that it proves and documents that Iran was going for a nuclear device.
We never had a proof. If it walks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it's a duck, but you need to see the duck.
The documents were over 15 years old, but they suggested that Tehran had carried out research into making a nuclear bomb before 2003. However, they didn't prove that Iran was violating the JCPOA agreement signed in 2015. Nevertheless, the Israeli authorities presented them as proof that Iran could not be trusted.
Am I glad to see you here?
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me over.
The operation did appeal to John Bolton, Donald Trump's national security advisor at the time. He had a reputation as a hardliner on Iran.
Well, I've seen some of the classified material. I've seen a lot. Obviously, the only downside was they didn't have enough trucks to take even more of the information out of the country.
Yes, Iran lied, but there was no proof in the data that they kept on continuing working on the program of weaponization. Do you agree?
Look, I don't think there's any doubt that they were trying to isolate their subsequent work to prevent detection. And the idea that, well, it's true the Iranians were lying for a long time, but now they've stopped lying, so we don't have to worry about it, is a formula for disaster.
Eight days after Benjamin Netanyahu's press conference, Donald Trump made a statement.
I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal. We will not allow a regime that chants death to America to gain access to the most deadly weapons on earth.
Ce qui était grave, c'est que en sortant de l'accord, les Iraniens n'avaient plus aucun intérêt à finalement retenir leurs actions dans la région, que ce soit au Liban, en Irak et en Syrie. Et il est vrai que quand les États-Unis sont sortis de l'accord, les Iraniens ont accéléré le processus d'enrichissement.
So Netanyahu, in a way, is responsible to this phenomenon. Some professionals on nuclear proliferation call him the father of the Iranian bomb because of his role in convincing Trump to go out of it and enable Iran to close the gap.
Si dans les années qui viennent, l'Iran obtient une bombe atomique, on pourrait évidemment tout crédit en viendrait au Premier ministre Netanyahu et au président Trump.
The Iranian authorities felt betrayed and resumed their uranium enrichment program. Most Iranian nuclear scientists had attended the same university, the Imam Hussein Military Academy. The Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, holds its annual parades in the Academy's central square, including choreography depicting the destruction of Israel. Starting in the mid-2000s, Iran saw a wave of attacks on nuclear scientists.
Killing the scientist was under the guidelines of we killed key nuclear scientists, the most brilliant ones, those who are in charge of weaponization. We will kill them.
Several of the scientists were killed in their cars by gunshots or small bombs attached to their doors.
C'est impossible de mener les opérations qu'ils ont menées ces dernières années sans avoir complètement infiltré les services iraniens. Pourquoi en Iran ils réussissent après à infiltrer à ce niveau le régime? Pour une raison très simple, parce que ce régime est détesté.
Over the years, Israel has recruited a network of agents and informers throughout Iran. And Mossad used this network to strike at its nuclear mastermind, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh.
Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was the top nuclear scientist of Iran.
ببینید آقای دکتر فخریزاده مبناش یه دانشمند جهادگر مبارز و جنگنده بود.
There's almost no video of Fakhrizadeh. This was a rare public appearance at the opening of a hospital.
خب در مراسم آیین بلندزنی قطب درمان مصدومین پرتوری هستی در خدمت عزیزان هستیم
What made him successful is that he had the combination of both leadership skills, but also scientific and technical knowledge. But he was also able to talk to the supreme leader and explain to him what should or should not be done, and was trusted by him.
The CIA, but also the French and the British and the Germans, all of the intelligence services were after him, but above all Israel, the Mossad. He was shadowed for many, many, many years. They knew the daily routine and the weekly routine of Fakhrizadeh.
Il y a même un agent du Mossad qui a ironisé en disant « On dormait avec Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, on se levait avec lui, on pouvait même sentir l'odeur de son après-rasage. » Les autorités iraniennes savaient qu'il était menacé par Israël, qu'il y avait une cible sur son front.
The head of the nuclear program, depicted in these graphics with his wife, always traveled under armed escort. It was impossible for a team of killers to get close to him. But Mossad found a weak link. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh always drove his own car when the couple returned from their holiday home.
Il part de sa maison de campagne pour aller à Téhéran. À ses côtés, il y a sa femme.
His guard, they warned him, you are not careful enough. The plan was very, very clever. Maybe the first killing in modern history, which it was activated by artificial intelligence and robotics.
A few minutes before arriving at their destination, none of the guards noticed a vehicle parked at the side of the road. Inside the van was a 1-ton robotic machine gun, which had been transported in sections from Israel. It was hidden under sandbags and building equipment and covered by a tarpaulin.
Cette mitrailleuse, elle est déclenchée à 2000 km de là, en Israël, au moment où Mohsen Fakhrizadeh passe avec sa femme.
The robot fired several bursts, 15 times. The data transmission delay from Tel Aviv was 1.6 seconds, so the shots were adjusted in real time by artificial intelligence.
Et sa femme n'est pas tuée. Il n'y a que lui qui est tué.
تو پروتکل‌های صهیونیسمی اصلا اصله که شما مخالف خودت رو هر جای دنیا پیدا کردی بکش و هیچ نگران این نباش که بخوان به شما مثلا آسیبی برسونن یا مخالفتی باید بکنن.
Some observers saw this assassination as a new humiliation for the Iranian leadership.
Israel didn't take responsibility, but a lot of foreign reports suggest it was Israel with the assassinating of the Fakhrizadeh.
Everyone guesses that it's probably Israel, but they do not know it for sure, and then they do not have the legitimacy to react because we have not done anything. Why are they reacting?
This shadow war between Israel and Iran went on for more than 20 years and involved the most experienced Israeli intelligence officers. But it led the Israeli government to neglect the threat on its southwestern border, Hamas, which controlled the Gaza Strip. On the 7th of October 2023, Hamas and other armed groups crossed the Gaza border and advanced around 30 kilometers into southern Israel. The attack left an estimated 1,195 people dead, while 251 Israelis and other nationalities were taken hostage. It also led to a rethink of Israeli military strategy in the region.
This horrific attack has changed Israel because for many years now, Israel has thought that if we keep things stable and relatively calm, it will be okay. And then October 7th has waken everyone up here. And he said, we cannot allow these kinds of threats to build up, to be able to risk us in such a way.
Les Israéliens, le 7 octobre, en fait, ils prennent une décision finalement assez simple et logique de leur point de vue. C'est de se dire qu'on doit en finir avec cet axe de la résistance. Que c'est plus possible, qu'il faut les anéantir. Et qui est le parrain de tous ces groupes, qui les finance, qui les aide, qui les soutient? C'est la République islamique.
Ils ont tout focalisé sur construire des remparts autour de l'Iran, de construire ces fameux axes Téhéran, Beyrouth, Damas, qu'ils avaient réussi. Et puis tout s'écroule.
The Israeli military began a series of unprecedented attacks on the Gaza Strip, aimed ultimately at destroying Hamas. The result has been the killing of more than 72,000 Palestinians, more than half of them women and children, and has led to genocide proceedings against Israel at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Almost a year later, on the 1st of September 2024, hundreds of pages used by members of Hezbollah in Lebanon exploded, injuring nearly 3,000 people. This was followed by intense bombing. Israel destroyed much of Hezbollah's munitions and killed many senior commanders, including its leader, Hassan Nasrallah. Hezbollah was at the center of the so-called axis of resistance, but was on the verge of collapse. This paved the way for the fall of the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad, in December of 2024. His regime gave way to a coalition of militias, and Israel seized the opportunity to bomb what was left of the Syrian military.
All of the Syrian air defense capabilities have been hit by Israel following the fall of the Assad regime, which sort of opened the way to fly east to Tehran without Iran getting early warning about it. Because if the Syrian raiders would have seen Israeli airplanes taking off, they would have alerted Iran. Once that was removed, the Israeli aircrafts could go basically all the way to Iran undetected.
Benjamin Netanyahu's long-time ambition to attack Iran was close to becoming reality. Across the Atlantic, his closest ally had been re-elected to the White House. Netanyahu traveled to Washington on the 7th of April 2025, hoping Donald Trump would give him the go-ahead to attack Tehran.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to have a very, very special person. I would say that I'm by far the best president that Israel has ever even thought of seeing.
But whatever happens, we have to make sure that Iran does not have nuclear weapons. That's the end of my speech.
But Netanyahu soon discovered that Trump had other ideas.
Having direct talks with, wait. We're having direct talks with Iran. And they've started, it'll go on Saturday. We have a very big meeting and we'll see what can happen. And I think everybody agrees that doing a deal would be preferable.
To everyone's surprise, the American president gave Iran 60 days to sign a new agreement.
Air defense asset, we are not going to relent.
Negotiations began in the Gulf state of Oman. The American and Iranian delegations met behind closed palace doors, but in separate rooms. The US and Iran do not have official diplomatic relations, so the Omani foreign minister shuttled between them with proposals and counter-proposals, all with the intention of renegotiating an agreement similar to the one that the American president himself had torn up.
Alors, essayer de comprendre les motivations du président Trump, ça relève d'une science psychologique que je ne possède pas. D'abord, c'est un homme impatient. Et l'impatience ne se marie pas très bien avec les négociations, surtout avec les Iraniens.
En fait, le point de blocage, c'était sur l'enrichissement iranien. Donc, les Iraniens demandaient que dans l'accord, le droit de l'Iran à l'enrichissement soit garanti, à 1, 2, 3%, peu importe. Et les Américains, ils étaient catégoriques sur non, plus d'enrichissement en Iran.
Le président Trump s'est dit, ces négociations traînent, donc je ne vais plus retenir Israël. Et une fois qu'Israël intervient, si ça marche, je vais me joindre à eux.
مذاکره عملیات تأخیری بود. یه تله بود که بیان از طریق مذاکرات تیم دیپلماسی ما رو طوری قانع بکنن به اینکه آمریکایی‌ها میخوان بیان حل کنن. یک فریبی که یه پرچم صلح گرفت ازش و یه خنجر پشتش بود.
On the night of the 12th of June 2025, 61 days into the negotiations initiated by Donald Trump, Israel launched a surprise attack on Tehran.
אז המון הערכה, חדות, להביא את הכי טוב שיש לכם, ואת הכי טוב של עצמכם, ואת זה אנחנו מנצחים. שיהיה בהצלחה.
Israël commence à attaquer l'Iran au milieu de la nuit. Les habitants de Téhéran, en grande partie, entendent ces bombes, sont réveillés par les bombes. Sauf qu'en fait, il faut savoir une chose, à la différence d'Israël, il n'y a pas d'abri pour les Iraniens. Sauf que les sites militaires, les Iraniens ne savent pas où ils se trouvent. Parce que c'est caché, c'est pas du tout indiqué. Donc quand l'armée israélienne demande aux Iraniens de s'éloigner des sites militaires, allez où en fait? Il y a une sidération, il y a ceux qui peuvent, ils fuient Téhéran, ils fuient vers le nord, ils fuient vers l'est, enfin ils fuient là où ils peuvent aller. Des embouteillages, il y a une panique. Très rapidement, ils se sont rendus compte que les Israéliens pouvaient frapper à n'importe quel moment, à n'importe quel endroit. Il y a même la télévision d'État qui est bombardée en direct. Qui est une image qui, je crois, est l'image de cette guerre, de ces 12 jours qu'on retient tous.
من طبقه اول بودم بمباران شد. نمیدونم چند تا از همکارام شهید شدن. نمیدونم چند نفر مجروح شدن.
On the evening of the 13th of June, the Iranians retaliated with drone and ballistic missile strikes on Israel. The operation aimed to saturate and penetrate Israeli defenses.
البته ما میدونیم ترکیبی پهباد و موشک با هم میرن. پهبادا سیستم‌های پدافندیشون رو چیز میکنن، به قول معروف اختلال درش ایجاد میکنن و بعد راه رو باز میکنن برای موشک.
With Americans and neighbors and our capacity, and we know the time, we can destroy an impressive percentage of the ballistic missiles and drones, almost all the drones and some 85% of the ballistic missiles.
Despite Israel's defensive efforts, here in Tel Aviv, around 50 Iranian missiles hit Israeli territory. Israel suffered 28 dead, including 27 civilians. The Iranians lost over 1,000 dead, between 200 and 300 of them civilians.
Tonight I wish to speak to you, the proud people of Iran. We're in the midst of one of the greatest military operations in history, Operation Rising Lion. The objective of Israel's military operation is to remove both the nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat to Israel.
Arak, Parchin, Natanz, Isfahan. With its dominance over Iranian airspace, the Israeli Air Force was able to strike many of the country's nuclear facilities, except one, Fordo.
La centrale de Fordo, qui est une des centrales où l'Iran enrichit son uranium, l'Iran l'a construit de manière à se protéger de 99,9% des bombes existantes.
Only the U.S. bunker buster bombs have the capability of reaching such a facility and destroying it. The bunker busters were designed specifically for the North Korean and Iranian nuclear weapons programs because we knew they were taking place underground.
The bunker buster was developed in 2009 when US intelligence discovered the existence of Fordo. It's the most powerful non-nuclear weapon in the US arsenal and can pierce up to 20 meters of reinforced concrete before exploding. Because of its size and weight, it can only be deployed by the American B-2 stealth bomber. On the 21st of June 2025, Donald Trump launched Operation Midnight Hammer. 7 B-2s took off from the United States to fly halfway round the world to hit Fordo.
Thank you very much. I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. Thank you.
Iran's nuclear program is not over. We have not erased it from the face of the earth. We've hit it significantly, but it's there. The enriched uranium is still there. And potentially there are centrifuges that are left in certain places.
Before the war in June 2025, Iran had around 440 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%. If enriched further, this was enough raw material for several nuclear weapons. After the 2025 Israeli and American strikes, no one knew quite how much had been destroyed or where the remaining stock had been moved to.
Iranians are already building the next generation of installations, buried 708 meters underneath the rock, which means that no weapon can achieve it.
با اینکه آمریکایی اومدن بمبارون کردن، رژیم صهیونیستی اومده بمبارون کرده، چون با بمباران دانشمند هسته‌ای ما رو میگیرن، ممکنه مراکز هسته‌ای ما رو هم نابود بکنن، ولی علم و فناوری رو از ما نمیتونن بگیرن.
Then, on the 28th of February 2026, even as negotiations continued in Geneva, the United States and Israel attacked Iran again. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed. Iran responded with missile strikes on Israel in what it said were US military targets across the whole of the Gulf. Early in the fighting, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz and effectively blocked oil and gas shipments to the rest of the world. Fuel prices soared. After 38 days, a ceasefire was announced in Islamabad on the 8th of April 2026. But that fragile ceasefire was challenged more than once, with Iran and the United States finally agreeing an interim peace deal on the 15th of June. The 2015 JCPOA agreement once seemed to hold the promise of lasting peace in the Middle East. But the conflict that has become all-out war in 2026 makes one thing crystal clear. Without a comprehensive agreement signed by Israel, Iran, and the United States, uncontrolled nuclear proliferation in the Middle East poses a grave danger to the region, if not the entire world.